Hello, Professor B back at you again with our next episode. Today we're going to look at combining Shakespeare and Bob the Builder. If that's got you wondering what in the world we could be looking at, I might be wondering too. We're going to actually look today at how we can make our writing stronger. We tend to include the to be verbs too often and thereby weaken our writing because they're not as strong a construction as we could use. We'll have several tips and tricks about how to fix it, and we'll figure out if we can fix it. Bob says yes, we can. So let's dive in.
All right, let's dive in instead of looking at the M&Ms on my background and take a look at our slide deck discussing our to-be verbs. To be or not to be? That is the question from the great William Shakespeare play Hamlet. It also helps get us ready for what we are going to talk about in helping our writing be better. Use the be verb right there. Well, what are they? The to be verbs come in 8 different forms: am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been. Okay? These are the 8 words you're going to need to look out for in your writing. To reduce your usage of these makes your writing better. If you include more of them, it gets more complicated, and we'll see why. The problem is that to be verbs, they describe things in a state of existence, but objectively. And they can do so in terms of both when and what. Well, what do we mean by that? They can be helping verbs. She is running, which is in the present tense, or she was running before. That's a state of being. The running was happening and she did it. Another, if we were going to fix that, we would say she runs or she ran. But in this case, our example is looking at the to be verbs. We can link information. I am tired. I is linked to the word tired by the word am. So you understand that I have the feeling of tiredness. Or they are sports fans. And they're also integral in creating the passive voice. And we'll talk about active and passive voice in another lesson. But if it is written in passive voice, the writing comes out to where it's hard to tell who was doing the real action in the sentence. The example here, the ball was thrown by him. We might think that the ball is the subject, but it's not. If we flip it to active voice and make it easier to understand, we would say he threw the ball. He is the subject, threw is the verb, the ball is the direct object. So let's look at some examples. We learned from the first slide that am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been are the 8 forms of to be. It is present tense. I am is singular. You, they, are is the plural form. He, she, or it is. And this is how it's used in the present tense, describing things that happen now. Past tense, describing things that happened before, or the action or state of being. When and where was before now. I was for the singular, you or they were for the plural, back to the singular for he, she, and it. Well, we have our past participles. Been, I have been. He, she, or it has been, and they have been. You notice we don't say I has been. And the present participle, being. You am, I am being, and you am being. You are being, if we were going to say that way. All right, they're not always wrong. It is okay to include be verbs in our writing, but it is very easy to go overboard, as we will see in some of the assignments where we work on this. What we want to do is replace those to be verbs with something active, and it gives us some benefits. We have stronger writing. There's a whole lesson devoted to strength in writing coming up. Your writing is more descriptive. You have a larger vocabulary, and there's less repetition, and you get to the point quicker when you use less to be verbs in your constructions. Okay, so let's look at Bob the Builder style. We want to ask ourselves, can we fix it? And then immediately shout, yes, we can. So To do this, we are going to look at some methodologies of fixing things. One is look at linking verbs. In these, you want to think about senses. Okay? Can you see it? Can you touch it? Can you taste it? Can you smell it? And so forth. You have 5 senses. So some examples are listed here. Switch out your to be verbs for something that appears in this list. He appears angry. Instead of saying he was angry, you could say he appears angry. If you had written a sentence that says my argument is unchanged, you could flip that out to my argument remains unchanged and make it stronger. The evidence becomes crucial. Okay, make sense? Let's jump forward and look at when we have helping verbs. All right, in this example, we say biology is interesting to me. This is our original sentence. We want to fix it by removing the to be. What is the to be? Is, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been. Let's get rid of the is. What do you think it might turn into? How about biology interests me? Still in the present tense, and it's stronger and clearer to the reader what is going on. Can we fix it? Replace the to be verb with a stronger and more specific verb. Okay? My sister is loud when she is telling her children to do their homework. 2 forms of is here. Let's see if we can get rid of both of them and make this a stronger sentence. My sister bellows when telling her children to do their homework. We cut out several words, making it more concise, which helps our writing in technical writing sense, and we understand as long as we know what bellows means. Again, we have to consider our audience and make sure that the word we use, we could also use what? Yells, screams, hollers, but you get the point. We can fix it by changing the word order around. Okay? The restaurant's food is excellent. Okay? How might we fix this? Is the problem. The restaurant serves excellent food. We gave it a good verb and changed the order around. We might change one or more of the nouns into a verb. Ooh, this is fun. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Jennifer Lawrence is the star of the Hunger Games. The noun in question here is star. What do you think might happen? Well, I bet it's Jennifer Lawrence stars in the Hunger Games. Yes, there we have it. It's fixed. Our mother was the driver of the bus. Okay, our noun is driver. How do you think we'd fix it? Our mother drove the bus. Okay, it was past tense, so we need to pay attention to that when we're changing and fixing it. Can we fix it? Well, one way to do it is to combine short sentences to eliminate to be verbs. Let's look at an example. The food at the restaurant is excellent. The burgers are juicy. The onion rings are crispy. The pie is the best I have ever eaten. This is our original sentence. Bunch of short, simple sentences stacked together. What can we do with it? We can say the restaurant serves excellent food, including, and now we have a cereal list. Juicy hamburgers, crispy onion rings, and the best pie I have ever eaten. It violates our rules on parallelism, but it fixes our problem for to be. Look out for these false subjects. There is, there are, there were, this is, etc. And we don't want to use these because it's hard to understand what we're talking about. The restaurant's parking lot is narrow. There are not very many parking spaces, and those that are available are too cramped. Okay? Holy cow, we've just overloaded the reader, and pretty soon they're going, okay, what is the problem? There's the lot. Is it parking? Is it spaces? What is cramped? Let's look at fixing this. Very easy to say the restaurant suffers from a narrow parking lot with only a few cramped spaces. We took all of those false subjects, got them out of there, and brought the focus back to the restaurant, whose problem and direct object is that parking lot. Okay? We fixed it. There were some important findings resulting from this experiment. There were. What are we talking about? We're talking about the experiment. So let's just say that this experiment resulted in some important findings. Okay. Get rid of unnecessary words. Now, would you ever put writing down that was unnecessary? Yeah, you would. but there's ways to fix it, okay? He struggled with the paper that was assigned by the professor. Oh my goodness, you would never struggle with anything I assign, right? Yeah, you probably would. It's happened before in the past. I assume it'll happen again. Let's fix this. He struggled with the paper assigned by the professor. Okay? We don't need the phrase or the phrase that was in there at all. He struggled with what? The paper. What modifies the paper? The one assigned by the professor. This works. We fixed it. Don't need to change anything else. Okay, we can take the to be out and put a prepositional phrase in with a strong verb. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Electric car technology was in existence as early as 1830. Right? Get rid of our to be verb, which is was, correct? And we can put just existed in its place. Electric car technology existed. Negative advertising is influential on voters' perceptions. Replace it with a single word. Negative advertising influences voters' perceptions. I am in receipt of your letter. Well, I bet it says I received your letter. Okay? And we want to watch out our boundaries between pretentious and arrogant language too, and that's discussed in our strength in writing talk. Now we can replace it with an ing verb. I believe those are called gerunds. The stock market was fluctuating. Okay, let's take that out and say, I bet it's past tense, so let's go with fluctuated. Yes, the stock market fluctuated. The concept of immorality is intriguing to me. This is present tense, so let's just say it intrigues us. Yes. There we go. Fixed. Now, passive voice. Let's get rid of passive voice. In passive voice, we have an actor. Okay? An actor who does something. And we need to figure out who's doing the what. My appendix was taken out by my doctor. We ask ourselves, who's doing the what in the sentence? The appendix wasn't doing anything, although it looks like it might be because it's at the front of the sentence. But indeed, the doctor was performing the action. So my doctor took out my appendix. Our sentence is fixed. We've changed it to active voice, and we're off and running. Okay? Wow, that was interesting. Short, sweet, to the point. Several ways we can fix to be writing. Pay attention. This will come up in our assignments moving forward after we've seen the slide deck. And as the slide says, wait, we're done already? Yes, we are. We fixed it, and we're ready to move on.
Hark, what light through yon window breaks. Oh, wait a minute. That's Romeo and Juliet, not Hamlet, where to be or not to be comes from, in case you were wondering. That was interesting. Can we fix it? Well, I hope we can, and maybe we did. Look at all those useful tips and tricks we talked about in that slide presentation, and roll them forward again into your toolbox. That's my common statement. We need to make sure that we keep all these tips and tricks handy because they will come as a benefit to us as we become better professional writers. All right, Professor B out. Stay tuned for the next one.